Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday once again. Super excited to engage in this conversation this morning. Please say hello as you are jumping on. Also, if you catch the replay later, just let me know you are watching the replay. I will come back and make comments and make sure I'm answering any questions. So, we are continuing to talk about how to take your message into bigger spaces. I know I've been specifically talking about how to take it into, hey, Kisa, I've been talking about how to take it into corporate, but I want you to consider this in terms of taking your message into bigger spaces, whether it be large organizations, whether it be corporate, whether it be government, whether it be universities. There's some things I want you to know about being mindful around in terms of things to do and things not to do. We get tripped up pretty easily sometimes, especially when our sense of desperation or impatience kicks in. And there's times that we do things that we don't realize are actually shooting us in the foot before we even get the process started. And so I want to go through a couple do's and a couple don'ts. And I'm actually going to start with the don'ts because I think it's important to know what not to do first. Because as you go into some of these larger spaces, it may be a little bit different than doing one-to-one coaching or going into small organizations. And I would offer that the things that I'm going to share with you actually are a good practice no matter what. So as you think about where you take your message, whether it's from a coaching perspective, training perspective, speaking perspective, or anything else, I want to give you some food for thought in terms of what may be useful and not, and some reminders on how to be really intentional and mindful so that you are opening up more opportunities for you to share your light and share your gift instead of inadvertently blocking yourself or inadvertently creating some bad juju or energy that's actually going to shut things down. And so, again, while this is really important as you're looking at larger venues, larger platforms, this is also going to be good practice no matter what. And so, the first thing I want you to realize is, and this goes back to what I talked about in the last Facebook Live, right? As we talk about that connection call, the very first don't, I guess, that I would put out there is don't go at this unprepared. And so, what do I mean by that? I mean, don't go in and just wing it. If you are looking to play in bigger spaces, if you are looking to really open up access for where you can share your message, for where you can really shine your light, there needs to be an opportunity for you to do a little homework first. And I'm going to tell you, as somebody who doesn't like structure, who's a person that does wing a lot of things because it just intuitively hits and comes in, there's still a level of preparation I do when I'm going out to reach to new contacts, reach to new prospects, looking at new spaces I haven't played in before. It really is to your advantage to do your homework. So while the don't is don't go in unprepared, the do then on the other side is do your homework. And so what do I mean by that? I mean that when you go in, especially when it's a new organization, do your research about the organization. Don't go in blind. Don't go in assuming that their problems, their focus, their priorities are the same as any other organization. Now, while I will also caveat to say that most of them have the same things going on, they have the same kind of priorities, they have the same nuances, they have some of the same challenges, the way they speak about them may be differently. The way they prioritize them may be differently. The way they choose to open up opportunity around them could look differently. And if you're not doing your research before having some of those connection calls or having some of those opportunities to engage, you're going in and sounding like everybody else. And so I say that because one of the things that happens, and think about how many people, especially in LinkedIn, but across all the platforms right now, that they connect with you and then immediately are trying to sell you something. And it's kind of a one size fits all canned equation that I will tell you that a savvy business person can smell in a heartbeat. They can sense if this was that was a nice, everybody's getting this message. Even if it looks like it's a personal message, it's got the same generic language. It's got the same generic feel to it. It's got this salesy, hey, I'm here, I can help you kind of attitude. And there's nothing that brings it back to that individual or that organization specifically. when you do your research, there will be things like keywords that pop out. There will be themes. There will be various things that maybe they're struggling with, they're challenged with, things that are in the press. There will be connection points that you can make based on doing that research. And what happens is, if you haven't done your homework, it feels like you're just pitching. It feels like you're just selling versus being able to be very sensitive. Because for some people, a challenge might be like, it's a challenge. For other people, it could be a really sensitive spot that knowing how to have the right level of empathy going in to engage in that space is going to be critical. So the first thing I want you to consider is don't go into these spaces unprepared. Don't go into these spaces without doing your homework. Don't go into these spaces without taking some care and time. And it's interesting. And for those of you jumping on, please let me know you're here. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Again, for those of you that jump on later, please let me know you're here as well. As I go through this, please, if you got questions, ask them. I want to make sure I'm addressing them on the conversation today, and want you to realize that I'm offering this because we have an opportunity to be putting our message into bigger spaces, whatever that might mean to you. And again, I've been focusing more specifically on the corporate space, but this is for any larger organization, military, universities, nonprofits, large organizations, corporate, whatever it might be, bigger stages, organizations that are out there that handle a lot of different businesses, right? Whatever it might be, summits, large speaking venues, whatever. These are the tools that I want you to have so that you're setting yourself up for success. So again, it's that opportunity to make sure that you're prepared. The flip side of that is the don't show up unprepared, right? And the more time and care, and it's always interesting to me, I get people that when we start to engage in this work, sometimes their response is, oh, that sounds like so much work. It's an interesting comment, and I want you to kind of sit with that for a minute. If you are not willing to put forth the effort to really find the connection points so that you can start to develop, cultivate, and really build a sustainable relationship, you have no business putting your message out there. And I just want to say that if everybody, right, there's so many people, and I won't say everybody, let's not generalize, but there are a lot of people, and there are a lot of people I hear that are looking for the silver bullet. They're looking for the magic, formula, the silver bullet, the pill, the thing, the whatever. They want to know how to do it fast, easy, and just get in and out. I want to tell you that you can do this and make it simple. You can do this and make it efficient. You can do it where it actually becomes something that's relatively easy. And there's still going to be amount of effort and work and leverage that needs to be created. Because if you're really, really sincere and really passionate about taking your message out, then don't you want to do the due diligence that is allowing yourself to be positioned in a way that's going to serve people the most? Think about what you choose to invest in. Is it the people that are out there that it feels like it's lazy, it feels like it's half-assed done, it feels like they're doing the same thing for everybody and it's just this blanket, or you buy their program and it's not even them that shows up, it's somebody else, whatever, they hand it off, it's just a recording, whatever it might be. Now there's various programs that those things work, but when you're looking at someone that's significantly, when you look at a coach, are you necessarily looking at the person that's just the like, hey, come here, here's the quick, easy way we're going to do this. I'm going to turn this over in 24 hours and you're going to do X, Y, and Z. Or are you looking for somebody that can really relate and connect to you, that understands your business? Now, you get to ask yourself, if you are one of those people that's like, nope, don't care, just want whatever little silver, then maybe that's your approach. But for most of you, and I know this group, this energy, the vibration that we're bringing in here, you care about really connecting with people. You care about serving at your highest level. The only way we can serve at our highest level is when we do the work to make sure that we're able and positioning ourselves to truly do that. And so I say that because if you're someone that's like, it sounds like a lot of work to do that homework, that's a perspective, right? What is it worth to you to invest in the right ways to build sustainable long-term relationships that can provide lucrative business for you and opportunity for you to serve, impact, and influence more? And so I say that because I really want you to think about your own mindset in this game. That if you are not willing to invest in ways to build bridges, to build connection points, to truly understand and be able to empathize with the challenges and opportunities that are going on with whatever space you're trying to play in, then I'm going to offer that maybe it's not the right space for you to play in. If you just want the quick and easy, create the programs, do your automated funnels, let people drive traffic to it, and just let your business be what it is. If, however, you really feel compelled that you want to be activating leaders at the highest level possible, that you want to be serving people to be engaged in different conversations, that you want to bring training that's going to be meaningful, that you want to share a message that powerfully is going to impact and influence, then I'm going to share with you that there's a little homework and prep that needs to be done. The more you show up with a knowledge and understanding of your prospective client, the new space you're stepping into, the more you have created leverage to be a partner, not a vendor in that space. And so I say that because the first don't and do is don't show up unprepared. Don't show up as a hot ass mess. Do your homework, show up with confidence, and show up with an intention to offer value and to deliver your highest and best level of service. So when you do that, you are already positioning yourself for something different. And if you haven't watched the Facebook Live I did last week around the 5 points we need to be reminded of around what we need to have a successful connection call, I urge you to go back and watch that. It's still pinned at the top of the group. Because it really is, there's a lot I talk about how to get prepared and how to activate that space. So the first space is preparedness, right? So it's your do and don't. Don't go in unprepared. Don't go in as a hot ass mess. Go in, do your homework, be prepared, and make sure you're ready to have that conversation. The second thing that I want you to realize is that when you're starting to engage in some of these conversations, don't panic if your contact goes radio silent. I know we've got this culture right now where people are ghosting each other and it's this whole thing and people just like bail out. I will tell you in corporate, this is a common practice in large organizations. And sometimes it's because it's just what they do and they're like, okay, it didn't really work, and then they go away. More times than not, it's actually because their calendar got so jam-packed that they haven't been able to follow up. So if someone goes a little radio silent, if someone is ghosting you or it feels that way, do not panic. Do not get in that space of desperation, because this is where we do a lot of the other don'ts. We start to oversell. We start to overdeliver. We start to give away, the baby in the bathwater, whatever that expression is, right? We throw everything out. We panic. We start to get this whole intensity, and that energy shows up. So instead, offer some space and grace. Instead, send a gentle reminder that says, hey, I get things probably got really crazy. I know we were going to follow up. Just wondering if you wanted to connect sometime in the next week or two so that we could talk about next steps. Especially if you had something that was already moving forward, I suggest that you do it from a place of space and grace and understanding, and to offer them the benefit of the doubt that things just got crazy. Because one of the things that happens in large corporations is most of the people there do not know how to manage their calendar effectively. They are not successful when it comes to, quote, time management. And I actually call that focus management. I'll talk about that another time. But they literally jam up their calendar so bad that it's amazing how many calls they have on top of each other. I know when I was in corporate, it would be crazy. I would be on a call, I would be in an email, I would be in Messenger, and then I would have a meeting that I was supposed to be into. And so at times it just gets overwhelming that they just are like, I just can't. So they're putting out whatever fire is going on at the moment, and it has nothing to do with you. So if you're going to internalize that, if you're going to panic, you're going to set yourself up for a sort of weird energy. You're going to put that desperation out there. And so it also creates this space of wanting to do something, and sometimes we do something that's rash and something that we can't bring back, that again shoots us in the foot. So what I want you to say is really keep in mind that people are doing the best that they can. Follow up. Simply send a reminder. Hey, I know we talked about getting back together. What does your schedule look like? Anything I can do? Anything I can send you in between? What does that look like? And just Stay on them periodically if things get pushed out. At some point, you can ask the question, do you still want to move forward or not? And do it from a place of compassion and trust and courage in yourself, conviction in yourself, confidence in yourself that this is not about you, right? So again, there's another don't go crazy when someone goes radio silent or it feels like they're ghosting you. Simply have the most generous assumption that says they're doing the best they can. They got overloaded. Great. I'm just going to give them some space and grace. And I'm just going to follow up and say, hey, I've done that even in some things, as we've talked about, some of the things I'm rolling out, my incubator as well. Just reaching out to somebody, say, hey, just curious, any questions, anything you need? I know you were interested. I'm not attached to it. That's the other thing. Don't be attached to any of these conversations. You are showing up to serve those people that are ready to receive you. And so you're just opening up pathways for that conversation. Stay unattached and just reach back in and say, hey, I know you were interested. I know we talked about moving this forward. Just checking in, where you at? Do you want to connect? Great. If they say, actually, Candy, and I've had people write back that have said, Candy, yes, I do. And things just, the shit hit the fan and it's gotten crazy. And I know we were going to try and touch base this month. Can we put something on the calendar for next month? Because yes, I want to circle back to this. So I'll say, great. Tell me what day, what time. And then I put it on the calendar so that then I can send them an invite and we have a meeting and it's on the calendar. So there's just ways to navigate that and managing your own emotion and energy and not internalizing that, oh, they just went radio silent. They just ghosted me. I suck. No, they just got jammed up. Their calendar's like crazy. It's one of the reasons why they need us. They have not learned how to properly prioritize. They've got too many fires they're putting out and they're exhausted. And so if you can lean in and have that compassion instead of trying to chastise them for not responding to you or guilting them or having desperate energy, if you can show up and say, hey, I get things get crazy. Let me know when's the best time for us to reconnect. Again, you're positioning yourself as somebody that understands their business versus it being about you. The more you make it about them, the more they feel like you can see and hear them and respect them, the more you're going to be able to move that conversation forward. So the next thing I want you to think about that's a don't do is that when you get in the opportunity to actually be sharing the value you deliver, be really, really careful that you do not give away the farm in the deal that you're creating with them. It is not about you taking everything in your bag of tricks and offering it to them and trying to slam it together and giving it to them for a steal, right? It's about you finding the one thing that is going to be most impactful or meaningful to them at this moment. And so one of the things I want you to realize is it's not about you selling everything. It's not about you giving away the farm. It's not about you over delivering in every capacity. It is about you getting super clear and helping that prospect get super clear about what's the one thing they think they want most right now. What is the one thing that they need? And helping them connect the dots so that you can offer value in that space. You have more opportunity when you narrow your focus and you do one thing and you do it extremely well and you deliver it at your highest and best level and you really make it like sing. Then you create leverage for other things in your toolkit. What happens is, and I know I've been guilty of this myself, and I've seen so many people do this, that you have this drive to want to give them everything. You want to solve all their problems. First of all, that's overwhelming for people. Second of all, it's completely confusing because they don't. One of the things we need to realize is that savvy as many business people are in larger organizations, corporate, whatever, they also need things as simple as possible and as clear and concise and like put into a box so that they get it, they see it, they're like, yes. And then how do you build it ongoing from there? And so I say that because we need to release that need to want to give them everything. I want to just show them how great I am. I want to like give them everything that I can. I know that I can help them. I can. And slow your roll, slow it down. And remember, simple is better. Go deep on one or two or three things. Never bring more than three things to the table at one time, depending on what you're looking at, depending on the scope of what you're building. really get laser focused on one thing that's going to be impactful and set yourself up to deliver your highest and best in that space. And that space may actually be an ongoing series of things you're doing, because a one and done is never going to bring your full value. And so when you think about that, there's an opportunity for you to realize that it's not around trying to give away the farm. The other thing that does is it creates that sense of desperation. It says, oh my God, take everything. I have all this stuff. Okay, no. Here's what, based on what I heard you say, here are the 3 things that we may want to align. Which one of these feels like it resonates most? And that's what I usually do. And people are like, so Candy, come in, I want to do a training. I'm like, great, let's talk about where they're at. Let's understand and get clarity. And then I'll say, based on what we've just talked about, there are 3 ways we could approach this. Or I'll say 2 ways. I always give them an option. They do like options, but we need to keep those options very simplistic and minimal so that we're not overwhelming. We're not causing a lot of, and so it's more of a this or that. So does this resonate more or does that resonate more? And they're like, ooh, I really like that, but I like this piece. Great. What if we did this? And so then I'll take the heart of this piece and add this little element that was appealing to them. And then we co-create it together, and it feels more customized, and it feels like you're meeting them where they're at to lift them to where they want to be. So the don't is, don't try to give away everything in your sales toolkit, all of your offerings, all of your things. Don't give away the farm to close the deal. Be really mindful about that one thing that's going to be most impactful. If you are setting yourself up to have the right level of connection calls, you will get very clear about what that one thing is. And that one thing is where you start and you build from there. This is how you go deep. I don't know how to do my hands, deep and wide, right? So that being said, the other thing I want you to think about, and people get so caught up and they get panicked when their opportunity says, so tell me about, how much do you charge? This is always an interesting conversation. I'm not going to go into this deep. For those of you that want to understand this better, I encourage you to consider joining us for the incubator that we're kicking off Tuesday. I will talk about this more specifically, and you will get real tools to help you navigate in this space. But what happens oftentimes is we panic. Somebody says pricing, and the next thing we know, we're sending them our pricing through an email, or we're just like vomiting out. And I'm going to tell you to stop that. Stop giving pricing before you even know what they need. Stop giving pricing before you even know what they have budgeted. Stop giving pricing in an email when you haven't even scoped out what it is you could possibly do. Because the thing is when you go to money first, it already closes down the conversation. Because they are now looking at you as a commodity, as a vendor, and there is no value. They are just literally pricing out the cheapest thing that they can to check a box. Great. So when somebody asks me about pricing, my question is twofold. One, tell me what you have budgeted to invest in your people to do X, Y, and Z. And so that's either somewhere in the conversation depending on how it went. And the other is, I'm not even sure I know what it is that is the solution we're looking for. So for me to offer you pricing at this point doesn't make sense, because my pricing ranges depending on what we customize for your organization. So it could be anything from an hour presentation to this. We need to have a bigger conversation around where you're at, what you're looking for, and what that ROI, remember I talked about that last time, what's the ROI, the return on investment you're looking for, and what makes sense. And anybody that has any sense of business whatsoever gets that. I can't give you pricing when I don't even know what it is I'm pricing. When I don't even know what the scope of opportunity is now. Then I say, let's explore a couple of options based on what you need. And then I'll throw it back sometimes and say, so tell me what you have budgeted for this level of work for what you're trying to accomplish. What is it you're trying to accomplish with this? What's that return on investment? And when they start talking, I'm like, okay, so when you think about that, what does that look like for you? Because it's interesting how they'll have a number, but they won't have an idea of the scope of work. And I'm like, well, that scope of work is going to be far more than what you've budgeted for, and here's why. And then you start having a different conversation. You can open up access to different lines of where cash comes from, how you can get paid, all of that. It's a very different conversation. However, we panic and we go, oh my God, I got to let them know oh my God, I got to tell them. It's the same thing I coach people when you're looking for a new job. So for some of you that are in transition, when they're like, well, what's your salary range? I'm like, well, and so then I have a different way that we approach that, because When you go to that piece first, it automatically shuts down the conversation. It puts you in a box, it shortchanges your opportunity, and it keeps you stuck in a way that says, well, I'm just going to offer them something. And because what we often do is we lowball our value so that we can get the deal. That's another don't, by the way. Do not lowball your value just to get the deal. Do not give it away just to close the deal. That will set you up. I've done that multiple times in my career, and it sets you up because then every time that client's bending you over and they are like expecting the lowball cost every time. And so there's ways to navigate around that are extremely powerful. And again, for those of you that want to know how to do this systemically and effectively, I encourage you to join us for the incubator. I still have a couple spots left, and the spots are going fast and furious, and there's only a couple left. That if you are interested, come join us for the Crack the Code incubator, because this is one of the things that we're going to be addressing. That being said, I want you to realize that it is never a price conversation first. If you are finding yourself where they are just legitimately in the first couple minutes asking you about, so what does this cost? Your response is, I don't know, because I don't even know what the solution is. I don't even know what it is we're scoping out. And until I understand more around your needs, your challenges, and what you're looking to address, I can't accurately give you pricing that's going to reflect the value of that work. So again, I'm giving you some language around that, because the other thing is, I want you to realize that I don't want you thinking about doing your pricing based on the hours you're putting in. It's about the value you're delivering. Big shift, and many of you in your business in general, whether it's large organizations you're working with or it's individuals, you need to get out of that trading time for money, that I'm going to charge an hourly rate and I'm going to break it down, that if this is how much time it's going to take for prep and this is my delivery, then this is what I'm charging corporate, or I'm charging my client, or I'm charging for one-on-one coaching. Stop it. It's about positioning yourself to say, this is the value of the transformation or the solution that I'm offering. This is what that's worth, and this is the investment required for that. And it's the law of reciprocity in motion for you to say it's about the value, because here's the conversation that you have. Instead of it just being well, what do you charge per hour to do blah, blah, blah? I don't. It's not a tit for tat. It's not a this and that exchange of money for time. It's this is the transformation. This is the solution. This is the value that I will bring forward based on this scope of work. What is that worth to you? Very different conversation when you talk about the worth of the value of the transformation, of the leverage, of the next level, of the whatever it might be, versus how much do you charge per hour. I do not do an hourly rate in any aspect of my business. Now, I will break down some things in my proposal that shows, hey, based on this, so that if you want more coaching calls with your team, yes, we will do this per an hourly rate. And even that's escalated because there's extreme value in me facilitating those discussions. And so it's all value driven, not time or hourly driven. And so I want you to get out of the space of thinking that you're trading time for money. And it's not about positioning yourself on what's your hourly rate. It's about positioning yourself around the value of the transformation that you deliver to solve a problem or to address a challenge that they're having that is worth 5 times more than that. And so you are pricing yourself adequately. Again, this is why you can't offer your pricing up front. It's a matter of really understanding that. Okay, so is this making sense for everybody? For those of you jumping on, say hello. If there's questions or comments, please drop them in the chat. For those of you watching this later, please ask your questions. I'll be coming back and checking on you to see what you've got going on. The other thing I want you to realize and don't do, and so I'm trying to do the don't and do in combination, because a lot of times if you're not doing this, then you do the opposite. The other thing is, don't assume that a handshake, and I know that's an old business strategy, that the handshake means that the deal is done. This is a really dangerous thing to do, especially when you're in large corporations, to say, hey, this person said we're a go, until you've got the paperwork signed, because there's usually a process for how you get paid, a process for how you get set up as a vendor, a process for this, until it's got the powers to be approval and signatures and you are officially in their system, the deal is not done. Now, or unless you get paid, they pay an invoice, whatever it is, however that is, a handshake is not enough. If you are just going on the word of your contact, your thing, know that that deal is not done until there is actual traction and there is an actual commitment. And it's amazing. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that. Yet you'd be surprised how many people are surprised when they're like, well, we had a handshake, we had a verbal agreement, and the deal did, and then I can't believe that the deal didn't go through. I'm like, there wasn't a deal. There was a, yeah, this is great, because oftentimes we take that as, yes, I want to do that and it's great. And then they do pull out and they're like, okay, well, whatever, it's not the right time, whatever. We need to make sure that we've got some sustenance in making sure that we've got the T's crossed and the I's dotted, especially in large organizations, because you need to make sure that you've got your business covered, as well as they want to make sure theirs is covered in addition. So those are some of the big things that I wanted to share. I also want, the other thing I want you to recognize is, and this goes back to not pulling everything out of your sales bag. I want you to realize that don't assume you know what they need until you've explicitly had a conversation around that, and we're able to like pull back the layers to understand. Because even if you're like, oh, yep, this is what's going on for them, until you have their language, until they acknowledge it, it doesn't matter if they need it or not. They're not going to recognize it as an opportunity. And so, again, be really mindful around, are you mining and cultivating the relationship so that you can truly position yourself as someone who is there as a partner, to really understand them, to have them be seen. Don't make assumptions that you know what they need, because it also stops you from listening. And I want you to realize, oh, excellent. I'm glad to hear that, Kisa. I want you to think about the fact that it closes off your ability to effectively listen for understanding when you already think you know the answer to their problem. And you may, but I want you to table that so that you can be present with them, and so that you can really understand where their challenges are at, what's driving that, and how they're getting measured against that, so that then you can start to help them co-create a way to walk through a solution that's going to be effective, that's going to meet those needs, and that's going to feel like it's customized and it's cultivated just for them. The more it feels like you are directly matching something to them specifically, instead of, again, that blanket approach, the more you're going to find success in being brought to the table as a partner, to have those really rich, those really juicy conversations that are going to activate so much more. It's amazing how that works, and there's a strategy around that as well. And like I said, these are some of the things for those of you that want to lean in, that are ready to activate this and amplify this at a much higher level. I encourage you to join us for the incubator. I will drop in, actually, if you're interested in the incubator, it's a 6-week. We're going to workshop these things out specifically for opportunities that you can move through your own pipeline, that you're actually going to work the opportunity through. Then just drop in the chat that you're interested. Just say, crack the code, I'm interested, yes, I'm in. I will then send you the information. Like I said, we only have a couple spots left, because I do keep this as an intimate space so that you can work directly on your stuff. We will actually workshop that out. You will also get my entire playbook on how to activate these larger spaces. And I say that because there's real strategies, and I want to share the things to do and don't do, and I want to give you the actual tools and strategies on how to make that possible. So again, those are the space. The other thing is, I want you to realize that, be mindful around trying to upsell or leveraging too many opportunities before you've even executed the first one, especially if it's a new venue for you to step into. If it's a new organization, a new space, show your value, be keeping the conversation, and there's a way to do that. You want to be following up, you want to be cultivating the relationship, you want to be engaged, and be mindful that you're not always selling before the ink is even dry on the first contract that you land. It's that space of, okay, we've done this. Now I got to really show some value, and I want to keep them connected to the value. And as we go through the process, then I want to have checkpoints to say, okay, what are our next steps from here? But what happens is we get over eager, that we're like, oh, now that I got them, let me sell them this, and this. And we actually, again, deter that energy that brought us in, that felt really good, felt connected, felt clean, and we jam it up because we either get desperate, or we get overconfident, or we get overzealous, or we just get over eager and we start to prematurely sell things, which is probably one of the biggest don'ts across the board, is to stop prematurely selling when you are not positioned to be selling. And I say that because I love selling. Selling is nothing more than a love letter and an invitation for those who are ready and are seeking opportunity to receive you. It's people that are at capacity to have the experience of the value you bring to the table. And so selling is a beautiful thing. The problem is we stay in the energy of what we've been taught around selling, which is this very icky, desperate, aggressive, hard, oh my God, I got to get it done. I'm just going to keep telling you all the amazing things I do, instead of learning how to pull it back and realize that selling, and I'll never forget, I had somebody ask me once when I was in Johnson Controls. They were like, do you like your job? This is when I was an account exec and I was selling to school districts and universities and some other things. I said, I love everything about my job except when I actually have to sell. And they're like, okay, you're an account exec. That's crazy. I'm like, 95% of my job is not selling. 95% of my job is building a relationship. 95% of my job is cultivating opportunities to understand my client and co-create solutions with them. I love that. I love being in partnership with people to help them figure out their aha moments, to help them crack open solutions that are going to be really impactful and meaningful. I don't like when someone is pressuring me to close a deal. It feels gross. And I had so many times I pushed back, even in my own organization, where I'm like, the time's not right. I don't have my position players in place. I don't have my champions fully prepped to be carrying this. And what would happen was, by giving them that space, oftentimes when we would present to their boards, I would be sitting in the audience, and the champions in those accounts would actually be driving the project forward. I would just be there to answer questions. It's so much juicier when you have your champions selling for you, promoting, championing, connecting the dots on why they need this now, versus you always feeling like you've got to push, 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 push. And so I say that because we need to stop getting in the energy of the premature sale. It's amazing to me how many people try to sell before they've built a relationship. And I understand where they're coming from. I know we all have to eat. We all have to put food on the table. We need to keep our businesses going. And we're missing such an opportunity, because when those relationships are theirs, when those relationships are there, selling is so easy. It's so organic. People say yes before you've even asked the question. It is extremely gorgeous and exquisite when you have people go, Candy, yes. And you're like, yes to what? And they're like, yes to next steps. Yes to what we need to do. Yes. I mean, I just asked one of my corporate clients, are we looking at another quarter? Are we looking? He's like, no, we need it 6 more months for sure. And then we're going to look at what we're doing from there. Yes, let's lean in and invest in my people. Yes, let's do this. And it feels so good, because now you're at the table with them and you're truly looking at what makes sense for deeper value. I brought this one thing in, we tried it, it worked, it's great. Now that we've seen the value in it, let's talk about what makes sense for further activation and integration. And it's a completely different energy, and it is a very open, invitational. When we talk about masculine and feminine energy, again, not male, female, masculine, feminine, we miss the opportunity to bring more of that feminine energy in, which is the invitation, which is the nurturing, which is the creativity, which is the opportunity to have compassion, kindness, grace, opening up empathy. Then once we've opened that up and we're in that energy, then we can bring in the masculine energy to actually close, to get clarity, to be very pointed around this, or this, right? And so there's a balance between those two. Most people, if you've done selling in any capacity, you've only been taught to sell with masculine energy. Now, we need masculine energy. We need feminine energy. The opportunity is, how do you bring in more of that feminine energy and harmony and balance for how you're setting up and creating these opportunities to sell with the balance of the masculine energy. And that's an opportunity that most people do not know. They don't know how to soulfully sell. They don't know how to be in that space to be, because we've been taught, oh, you got to close the deal. Oh, you got to get done. Oh. And then we do that premature sell. So that is my ultimate don't, is stop, be mindful of your energy, because there's a desperation in it of that premature sell. sit back, take a breath, have confidence in the value that you deliver, and start to open up pathways to really connect with people, to understand what they need and what they want, meet them where they're at, and then help elevate, lift, and take them to where you want them to be, or where what is possible for them in terms of next level. Because oftentimes when people are in their challenges, when they're in their muck, they can't see the forest for the trees, right? They can't see what's possible beyond there. And if you keep sharing all these possibilities, they're going to completely be like deer in the headlights. They're going to be in that freeze space. They're going to get shut down. It's going to be overwhelming. They need to start at ground zero. They need to start with the first step. They need to have that space so that if you are willing to put in that work, like I said, there is some effort. If you're willing to put in some time to cultivate these relationships, once you do this, it becomes a wash, rinse, and repeat kind of cycle, and you can find yourself and you actually find that it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable to be building these relationships, and it's enjoyable to get creative around how can I bring new solutions and possibilities. I woke up this morning, had a crazy dream about how I can serve some people, and I was like, oh, never thought about that. Oh my gosh. And as I'm getting more intel, if you want to call it that, intel, the insider secrets, there are more ways that we can create leverage. I think about some of you that have podcasts and blogs and books, and there are so many things that are opportunities right now because the whole landscape of business is changing and what they need is changing. They don't want to reinvent the wheel. They want to be able to tap into things that are already done. That when you start to think about that, it opens up a whole different level of conversation. And again, for those of you that want to know more about some of this intel, want to know about these new strategies, want to know about how to create real leverage, I invite you to join us for the Crack the Code Incubator. And if you are interested, just let me know in the comments or send me a PM that just says that you want more information, you're interested. Again, we are kicking things off Tuesday. We will meet every week for 6 weeks. It's going to be amazing, and we are going to workshop some real opportunities from start to finish. So with that, any further questions? Those are a couple do's and don'ts. And like I said, I kind of structured them as the don't and then walk you into the other side of that, which is the do. And so hopefully that was helpful for all of you. I want you to also realize there's a couple other don'ts. Don't create feast or famine in your business. Don't try to go after the big thing and then think it's going to cover you. Create real momentum and ongoing consistency in your business. It also will stop you from that need of desperation or that need to do the premature sale. The more you create real consistency in your business, the more you can stop that feast or famine mentality. The other thing I want you to realize is there comes a point where while as much as we want to serve people, we also need to know when to bail out, because we are not here to save companies from themselves or save anybody. Some of us get into that sort of savior mentality where we feel we've got to save a client, save this, save a company, save. You're not here to save. You're here to help serve, and you're here to help people move to the next level. If they are really, truly needing saving, it's probably an opportunity for you to say, you know what, doesn't feel like there's alignment, it's not a right fit, and I'm going to allow myself to move on. So my biggest takeaway for all of you is that opportunity to be proactive in your relationship building. It's to cultivate, it's to create, cultivate, and nurture those relationships, and taking the time and care to really position yourself as someone who's there to serve, not someone who's there to just win a deal. And so when you create that energy, it's magic what opens up for you. I say this from experience. I say this not only from what I've been able to create in my own business, but what I've been able to help others create as well. That and what we don't realize, we think it's so simple, and it is. Yet it's not a practice that's put into motion on a regular, consistent basis, that it actually creates one of the biggest differentiators, is your ability to create relationships, meaningful, sustainable relationships, that in and of itself is one of the biggest differentiators you can create as you're taking your message out. So with that, everybody, if there's additional questions as you go back and watch this, or as you see the replay later, or as you're just thinking about things, please make sure you drop them in the chat. I will be back. These comments. And again, if you are interested in learning more about the upcoming incubator, I have like 2, maybe 3 spots left. let me know, and I will share that information with you. It will powerfully position you as a partner to be building and cultivating these relationships, and it will give you the strategies, the tools, and templates you need to navigate that conversation from start to finish. So, with that, everybody, wishing you a fantastic rest of your Thursday, rest of your week, and just a beautiful weekend. I will be activating some other conversations here on Facebook Live. If there's some specific things you would like me to talk about, please send me some messages. Would love that. I might even put a poll out and see what things are kind of like feeling juicy for you. But I will be doing some more Facebook Lives on some different things as well, all still connected in terms of how we get to activate as enlightened leaders, how we get to step forward, how we get to amplify our message, and how we get to serve more people to create greater impact and influence. So excellent. Yes, module 1. Yes, Keisha, I cannot wait to have you in that incubator. We're going to have so much fun. So yes, lots of great information, and it's our time. So with that, everybody, just let me know how I can be supportive, how I can serve you. And with that, I will talk to all of you soon.